I'm Nick Pomeroy with PR Equipment out here in Kearns, Texas. Hey, today we're out in the field today to do a face-off that I'm pretty excited about. Massey Ferguson 4707 series tractor versus the John Deere 5075E. Both of these are pretty popular tractors in the segment, so I think it's going to be real interesting to see how they stack up and find out, does the saying hold true that you get more with Massey? Start over. Let's jump up in the cabs of these two tractors. We're going to start with the Deere and we're going to move on to the Massey, but let's jump up in the cabs of these two tractors and see some of the differences, some of the similarities, and some of the benefits and the features of each. I should mention before we get started, I believe this is a 2021 model. It's got 54 hours on it. It's basically a brand new machine. I think the customer bought it 9 months ago or something to that effect. But regardless, just jumping up in here, a few things you notice right off the bat. We're missing a buddy seat. So with John Deere, that's optional. From what I'm told, it's about a $1,200 option if you want to add the buddy seat. You'll see in the Massey in a minute where that comes standard. But definitely something to be thinking about when you're comparing these tractors side by side. Maybe if you've got kids or if you've got somebody that likes to ride with you, having that buddy seat is a must. One other thing, we talked about this already, the door. We talked about this in a previous video. This door is not a door, it's a window. And you have to buy a kit to make it a door. It's got the hinges, it's got everything, but John Deere has shorted you the latch mechanism. And they're gonna charge you for that latch mechanism if you wanna turn that from a window into a door. I don't know how much money that saves them by skimping you on that door, but they chose to do it that way, so okay. So a couple other things, just facing forward, the first thing you notice, looking at the steering wheel, it does tilt, however it does not telescope. We'll see in the Massey in a minute where that's nice. And the shuttle lever in the Deere, it's a pretty standard shuttle lever. You got forward, neutral, reverse, right? There's not much to it. It's a power shuttle, it's a wet clutch, great tractor, great transmission, I get it. It's pretty simple. But there is no way to control or tune that shuttle. You'll see in the Massey where we do have that ability. And there's also, the only functionality is forward, reverse, and neutral. There's no declutch functionality, and we'll also look at that. One other thing that I noticed real quick, it's got a mechanical engagement of the four-wheel drive. And I guess I don't know whether you pull it up or push it down to be in four-wheel drive. But it's mechanical engagement of the four-wheel drive. That's fine. A little chintzy, kind of reminds me of the stuff we see on compact tractors, and I don't expect to see that in this larger tractor, but it is what it is. Another thing I noticed was the dash. It's a very analog dash. There's really nothing to it. You can toggle between, I think, engine RPMs, PTO RPMs, and engine hours, but you don't get into any of the nicer features like how many miles, how much field acres you're doing an hour, fuel consumption, anything like that, like you would get with the Massey. And I should say there is telescope to this steering wheel, but you have to, it's kind of antiquated. You turn the knob and you push it up and down. Where the Massey, it's got a lever for it. Moving over, the transmission, it's a 12x12 transmission, very much like what the Massey's going to have, with the one big exception being that they've got 3 ranges in 4 gears, where we're going to have 2 ranges in 6 gears. It's a little nicer if you're doing field work to have more gears accessible to you within one range, so you're not stopping to shift a range to get to that gear that you want next, because it really basically, in field work, it more or less eliminates that gear, because if you can't shift it without stopping, you really don't want to shift it, so it's something to be thinking about. One thing else you'll notice, it's all a mechanical hitch. It's got draft control, and it's got the up or down position, but it's very, very mechanical. It's very, very compact tractor feel. It's very, very, we'll call it economical, so we don't use the word cheap. But it's definitely not much to this hitch, which maybe this has something to do with the reason why you can't control it from the rear of the tractors, just because of how simple it is. It's harder to tie in controls for the back. Throttle, it's clear over here on the right side, and there's not much to this right side console. I mean, there just isn't much in this tractor, but your throttle clear over here, which is fine. PTO engagement is here, which is okay. 2 remote valves are right here. It screams economy. Even the sun visor is kind of out of like a, this reminds me of the sun visor that my grandpa had in his 1984 Ford pickup. Nothing fancy going on there. As far as the AC controls being up here, that's fine, and the AC seems to work pretty good. Radio up there, that's good. As far as lighting goes, your lighting is all right here. Turn signals are right here. Not a lot going on there. There's obviously no rear wiper, so there's no need for that. And you do have a 2-speed PTO, and it's shifted back here behind the seat, so that's something to know. The Massey does as well. It's shifted outside the cab, which arguably this might be more handy, but I don't know that you're shifting the speed too much from the cab anyway, because you're pretty much picking. Now, moving on to the seat. This is a big difference that I did not honestly expect to see. When I first hopped up in it, I was like, okay, how do I air the seat up? This isn't an air ride seat. That blew me away, if I'm being honest. I thought these all would come with air ride seats, but sure enough, here's our screw. This is our screw, so we can adjust our seat, how much tension we want. So, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was floored. I just assumed it came with an air ride seat. It does slide forward or back. It does have the tilt. I do not see where you can adjust the armrest. If I might be missing something, and if I am, I get it, but best I can tell, there's no way to adjust that. I also don't have any swivel, at least not that I can find. I've felt around for all the controls. I don't see a swivel to the seat. It's not an air ride seat. No adjustability on the armrest. There's a lot of things about the seat that leaves something to be desired. So guys, that's a big thing you need to be paying attention to if you're looking at these tractors. You might be pricing one that's bare bones like this one and be like, it just does not stack up anywhere close to what the Massey is. I think that pretty much covers it. So let's jump into Massey, compare what you get with it, and see where we go from there. All right. So now let's climb up in the cab of the Massey, and we're going to utilize the door that comes standard where it does not come standard on the Deere to get inside. So I think one of the first things you notice when you hop up in the cab of the Massey Ferguson is it just feels like a much larger cab. In another video where we like to actually measure some stuff, so we're going to bust out the tape measure and really look at some of the different features and functions and the sizes of things. But in this video, I'm just doing a couple observations. It feels like a bigger cab, and I'm expecting to see some measurements kind of compare to that. I know it's a much larger door. I know there's a lot of features, like say, that are much larger. We're going to be doing measurements later, but that's the first thing you notice. The second thing you notice is the fit and finish of the cab. When you compare this to what is in the Deere, there's really no comparison. This feels like a premium tractor. The fit and finish is much cleaner. All the controls, I believe, are laid out better. It's just a much nicer, more premium tractor. And I think to get this kind of fit and finish, you're going to have to start looking at the M series Deere to really get something that compares. So as we start looking around, just kind of keeping in line with what we had done on the previous one, a couple things you first notice is the ability to tilt and telescope are all based on this lever. So you pull it out and you can telescope the steering wheel, and then you push it in and you can tilt it. A lot of functionality. It's the same functionality as the Deere. I think we make it a little easier to get both of those features. We talked about the shuttle lever over there. I talk about this a lot because I think it's one of the most overlooked features in these Massey tractors. But even just our basic shuttle lever has an added function that the Deere doesn't have. And so when we go to the forward position, if we need to stop for just a moment, we don't have to switch it back to neutral or push the clutch. We can just pull up on that shuttle lever that more or less declutches the transmission just like you were pushing the clutch, let it down, and go again. So that to me is kind of underrated or underappreciated. A lot of people don't think about that, but when you're cutting, when you're baling, whatever it is, when you need to stop for just a moment, pulling up on that's a really nice feature. It's also, if you're shredding and you're coming up on something, and it allows you to kind of like I say, just a little bit more functionality of the shuttle lever. We also have a dial built into the shuttle lever, which allows you to change how aggressive that shuttle is, right? So if you need to go a little slower in the transition from forward to reverse, you just turn the knob. It's super simple, super easy, but it modulates that clutch a little bit and gives you the ability to tune it to how you like. And to be honest with you, tune it based on application. Because when I'm pulling a 15-foot shredder, I want that shuttle to be slower so that I don't potentially jackknife that implement and bust a CV shaft. But when I'm doing loader work, I like that shuttle lever to respond a lot quicker. So you can tune that both ways. That's a very, very nice feature. Another thing with the dash, We have some added functions and features that come along with our dash. We can see more or less most of the functionality right from the dash, as far as you know, your PTO speed and things like that, your engine speed, stuff like that. But the other thing that we get that the Deere isn't allowing is we're going to know how much fuel we're burning, which I think is kind of a nice thing in today's standards, because we can kind of compare fuel usage when fuel's $5 a gallon. You know, what do we burn in an hour? I think that's good to know if you're ever looking at the input cost of your tractor. Yeah, you can do it by telling how much fuel you put in at the beginning of the day, how much you put in the next day, but most people don't have the ability to measure that, and it's kind of a pain. We know based on an hour how much fuel are we burning. I think those calculations are getting to be more and more important. As we move around, a few things that also come into play. I mean, as far as the pedal setup, it's pretty close to the same. We've got a throttle pedal, 2 brake pedals, and a clutch pedal. But as we move around, we talked a little bit about the transmission. It's a 12x12, just like that. Now, there is an option for a Dyna 2, but there is on the Deere, so I'm not going to jump into that. But we've got a low-high with 6 speeds. One option that you don't get with the Deere is this little orange button right here, which is the D-clutch button. The D-clutch button, let's say you're going from 3rd gear to 4th, you don't have to push the clutch. You just push in that D-clutch button and shift a gear. Say I want to go to 5th, push in the button, shift to 5th. This declutches the transmission for you and allows you to shift without using your feet. That feature right there is a big feature in my opinion, not having to clutch between gear shifts. It's just a lot less driver fatigue when you're running this tractor all day, so something definitely to look for there. As far as the joystick goes, very similar in features. We do give you buttons right off the bat that are pre-installed. There's a switch here if you go with our nicer loaders that's going to give you the ability to have soft ride. It doesn't come standard on the 931X loader, and we paired this with these two tractors together. Well, 2 reasons. One is because the only 4707 we have in stock, and it's actually sold, but we have it for a moment, so we're using it. But the 931X and the 520M loader that comes pretty much standard on the 5075E Deere kind of comparing specs. So we ran with the same loaders. But in the future, just know you do have the soft ride capability that you can add to this loader, but you can also get standard with the FL loaders. And there's also a 3rd function switch. This one comes standard, so to use the Massey Ferguson OEM diverter valve setup for the 3rd function. We have, here at PR Equipment, we have added this 2nd switch, which gives you the ability to run a live 3rd valve. So this is a kind of a PR exclusive. I'm sure there's other dealers doing this, but a lot of dealers are going to use the aftermarket knobby thing, and I don't like it. So I have my technicians basically wire in a separate switch that's just like the original, that gives you the ability to have a really nice clean factory look, but get the functionality of that live 3rd. Moving over, our throttle lever is right here at our fingertips. I like the placement of this a little bit better versus having to reach over to the Deere. Maybe not that big a deal for everybody, but I use my throttle lever quite a bit, and so having it kind of right at your fingertips is important. On our valves, we have obviously 3 valves. 2 valves, we talked about this, comes standard. 3 valves is optional. Where the Deere, 1 valve is standard, 2 valves is optional. So we have the ability to add a 3rd valve. One other thing, we have these little lockouts. So first off, they are detenting valves, but second, you can actually lock the valves into full flow with these locks. On the Deere, I think your only option, if you want to run something that requires continuous flow, is to use a bungee cord. So versus the bungee cord, I consider these lockouts to be a much nicer design. Moving around, we also have a preset engine speed. We didn't have that on the Deere. So if you want to set this engine speed to 1800 engine RPMs and be able to hit a button and repeat it, it's super easy to do. Very nice. Also, 4-wheel drive. It's electronic engagement on this tractor. The other thing that gives us the ability to do is, say when you want to stop the tractor will automatically put it in 4-wheel drive to give you 4-wheel braking. A little safer, a little better stopping power. You'll find, like I say, it's not something you think about all the time until you need it. We also have electronic engagement of the differential lock. That's kind of nice to be from your fingertips, especially when your feet are doing other things. Maybe you're working the steering brakes, maybe you're working the foot throttle. Having the electronic engagement is a very nice option. And we talked about this in another video. We have a locking front axle, which we do not have on the 5075E. Electronic engagement of the PTO, it's pretty close in position to where I think the Deere was, and the functionality appears to be roughly the same. So I think kind of neck and neck on that one. I do like how this is all compact and it's right at your fingertips for all these controls. You're not reaching back or down for anything with the exception of changing ranges. So to me, hands down, the placement of the controls, the Massey wins. Now we also have an electronic hitch. That's nice because you're not constantly working a lever. But a couple things to note. So we have draft control up on the pillar, and then your position switch is right here at your fingertips. So you're not reaching down to work the 3-point lever all the time. I think this is slick. I mean, this, in comparison, a lot less fatigue from having to kind of reach for that 3-point lever all the time. I like this, the Massey style of hitch, a lot better. We have our floodlights and our rear wipers are all on switches up off the top of the pillar. So those are all going to be controlled up there. There's switches underneath the steering wheel as well for lights. So your hazards and your road lights are under the steering wheel. However, your work lights, your rear and your front, are going to be up off the pillar, and your rear wiper is up there. Whereas we don't have a rear wiper on the 5075E. Front wipers, turn signals, and horn are all going to be up off the kind of the steering column. So you've got the ability to not only shift to bright lights for road driving, but you also got your controls for your front wiper as well as the horn. We talked about the positions that you can shift through on the dash. I guess we're kind of on to the seat. And so with the Massey Ferguson, we've got sliding forward and back. The seat rotates. We've got the ability to tilt the back however you like it. The armrests are adjustable, so if you need to reposition these armrests to a different position, you've got these knobs right here which will adjust the armrest. Very nice, but I think the be-all end-all right here is it's air ride. I was really surprised when the 5075E did not have an air ride seat. That's a big difference between these two tractors. And I think it's something where you need to consider when you're looking at both of these tractors at the dealership. What am I getting for the money? Because I really believe that you get more with Massey. So I think you can see, oh, and I did nitpick on Deere about their front windshield or their front visor. With Massey, we get the pull down black visor. This is what you're going to see in all the larger tractors. It's just a little bit more premium of a feature. It's kind of adjustable and it doesn't swing way out in your way. So the visor is pretty nice in this tractor as well. Probably not the biggest thing you've ever seen, like biggest issue, but I do just think that one looked a little bit chintzy. So overall, I think that pretty much covers the gist of what this tractor is. And I think if you've followed this video, you've seen that there's just a lot more features and functionality in the cab, let alone outside the tractor, which we're going to get to in another video. So I hope you guys stay tuned for the next video where we're going to be measuring things up and seeing, does your tractor measure up? Thanks, y'all. Thanks, y'all, for watching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, give us a call or text, 903-270-0877. We want to be your Massey Ferguson dealer here in Central Texas, North Texas, whatever you call us. It's always, we're right on the line. But if y'all are searching for a tractor, needing a tractor, we're big on customer service and taking care of folks, and we'd really appreciate a chance to earn your business. And like I say, if you like what we're doing, like our YouTube channel, subscribe to us, let us know that you like what we're doing. If there's something that we haven't done that you'd like to see, let us know that too. We enjoy doing these kind of videos when we get that opportunity. We hope you do as well. And I think that it goes to show you that you get more with Massey, but you also get more when you work with PR equipment. Thanks.